guys, this is Alan Borges from De7pra7. This is our first episode in English, and we are very glad to have our friends here, Alcely Barroso, Simon Macqueen, and Jonathan Fratta. De7pra7, this is an initiative from Educação and IPv7. These companies are together to bring some nice interviews about innovation, education, business, sales, to the business owners that want to be ahead on their topic. So, Alcely, please introduce yourself.
Oh, first of all, thank you very much for having us here. So I'm very glad to talk with an old friend. So, Alcely, who is a person passionate about education, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So I love to work and to empower others, and I love technology. I've been working at Toronto Business College and also at Brainwork and as a strategy leader. So we're thinking ahead how technology is helping people and supporting people to make things better, and how we empower people to learn more and to use technology to improve our lives. This is what I am and what I like to do. Thank you.
Great. Simon?
Hey. Yes, thank you so much for having us here today. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I've got, my experience has been kind of non-linear. I studied history, I studied international relations, and since then, for the past 15 years, I've been involved in education, international education. And more recently, we've been exploring, as Alcely said, technology and how education incorporates technology, how businesses transform with technology. But more importantly, just than that, is the human element of how humans and technology interact together. Has really been critical in how we've pursued our education strategies, as well as our new digital transformation business consulting firm, Brainwork Business Consulting. So once again, great to meet you. Happy to be here.
Great. I'm Jonathan. I'm glad to be here in this conversation and share this opportunity with you, Simon. And I'm a technology guy. I always been involved in technology since I was a kid and play with some electronic parts and so on. And since there, I never saw myself outside this world. I've been working in telecommunication markets for more than 20 years. But I also like to understand this relationship with the human beings and how it has impacted the world around us. And that's important. By now, I working on the very part of the high-end technology, on edge technology, and I see this how impactive some peoples and how it democratizes, creating fluent information for everyone. And I think that's going to impact a lot on education. That's something that indeed is going to make a difference in our next 10 or 20 years at minimum, right? So I'm glad to be here and glad this conversation.
Great. That's wonderful to have you guys here. Right. My name is Alan Borges. Let me introduce myself as well, right? I am more than 30 years on technology. Basically, I started just like Fratta, but I'm more in a shape than him, right? But I am from the old school, mainframes, assembler, COBOL, all that stuff. I started my first computer I had on 80s, mid-80s, when I started to work, not work, but to play with computing. And that was very, very fine because in Brazil, Simon, on that time, right, we were closed country, right? So the technology could not come through other other parts. So that we use kind of a reserve or a market reserve, and it's was very hard. And I was lucky, right, to have a computer. I was the only guy on my community to have a computer. So everyone wants to come to my house to play with computers, right? A Sinclair a model, and I'm passionate about computing, computer, technology, and human, right? And after my career, along this 20 years, most of this time is on IBM when I met Alcely in the last minutes, I would say, right, Alcely? And I started I get hooked by education, right? And as I'm a talkative guy, as you guys can see, I'm really striving to do something different on education, to bring people to the center, because the education can transform not just lives, but countries, but everything. It starts with the human being, right? Today's topic is the human factor in education with AI. And we have here 3 guests which knows a lot about education and AI, and I would like to share with you and to listen with you some thoughts. So, Alcely, Simon, you can feel free to answer, right? Where should we start with AI and the human interactions? The harder ones, right?
Yeah, this is a pretty expansive question, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like we said in the introductions, we're all aware of the synergy and the requirement for humans and technology to interact. So often when we talk about AI in education or technology in education, or work for that matter, as AI functionalities increase exponentially, it's not so much, in the background, at least in my mind, is how do we implement these technologies, say in education, with the human being empowered by the technology, and the technology being empowered by the human as well, both ways. So that goes for both, again, just for, say, stick with education, for the students, but also, the teachers and the organizations. So it's important that people don't just think that technology or AI is a solution and just, okay, so here's some new tools, go learn, because that's going to lead to a lot of confusion and not necessarily the right kinds of solutions. So it's about how you empower human technology to work together.
And also, we have to consider that the human, there are a lot of components and elements like self-awareness and how you understand how we learn as adults or kids, that we learn in a different way. So when we think about how technology could be adopted in a school, we have to consider if it's a kid, a small kid, it's one way. If it's an adult, it's learning by doing. We have to learn, we have to interact with others. And also, we have feelings. We are afraid to use, it's part of to be human, to be afraid of new things. So if we separate those elements, human and technology, it's hard to adopt and to use to empower people. We have to better understand who we are. We have to deep dive on who we want. It's not easy. It's a self-reflection and how technology can help us to reflect and not doing by impulse, but how we internally think about how that technology will help us to be a better person, to help us in a daily work, how we keep our privacy as well, not to be afraid of using, but at the same time keeping our privacy. So there are a lot of elements to discuss, but I think as a summary, we have to continue studying and continue learning how humans develop, how our brain works, how we feel, and then how technology is across this all.
Great. Would you like to make some comments?
No, by now it's great.
Could I just, sorry, I just want to piggyback off that quickly.
Sure.
I think one of the interesting ironies of this sort of period where technology is expanding so rapidly is that people start talking about, I'm not going to say a reversion of what education is for humans, but it changes. You know, before the Industrial Revolution, education was about empowering the whole of the human with the classics and philosophy and, you know, the sciences and math and poetry. And then the Industrial Revolution sort of institutionalized education. It democratized it for a lot of people, and it had a very overall positive role. But the more technology comes in, and you know, this impacts the future of work too. Like, what are we going to do if it's taking jobs? Humans need to start learning different things. What is it to be human? What differentiates us from AI? The things that the machines can do better than us, you know, might become obsolete in terms of professions. So what can we learn that humans are better at than machines, if anything, right? Ultimately, like, will we be in a world free of work? In which case, we have to just sort of radically change what it is that we even learn when we're students.
I'd like to add something here. Just sharing, and when you've been talking, I've been thought, and technology being around us, say forever. Okay, I think the most revolution that we had is the information revolution. That now changed everything. That from was, let's say, on the table, was expected something to bring on to results, and now you have it totally something that you can interact with. That make a lot of difference, because of course in old days you had a computer and you go in your computer and make a test. Now you go into a computer and ask for AI to make a test for you. Okay. That changed everything. That is amazing, and let people little bit afraid of what's going to happen with me, my job, with so on. And that takes us to another path to our inner of human. What make of us? What we make only of our cognitive side, or we are made of some emotional side. That is part of something that's incredible. And I see it. Well, education plays a very important role in this game, because the new generation and the older generation needed to learn how to deal with that, and how the education can provide a clear path for better humans in the future. So that's a challenge, I think.
Yeah, I think I would like to add something. As I know, I feel it and I see it. The generations will adopt the AI differently, in my opinion, right? We are people from technology, so that should be more native for us, I would say, something like that. But for other kind of people from older generations, or even from people from the healthcare or other verticals or industries, it might be a challenge, because most of them don't like technology at all. We have these people. Right? They don't want it. There are another sort of people who are, okay, I need to adapt, or that's a threat for me. Well, how can I do that? How can I accept that? Or how can it will help me, or it will take my job, right? So in that matter, how you guys see the tools that are already in place, right? Especially for education, which is the subject here today, for the chatbots, AI assistants. You think that we are in a way in a journey to have something like, okay, I'm going to be studying with my personal assistant here to give me or to keep me on track. You know, we have technology already in place for that. What do you guys think? That is something which is far already to be adopted, or it's already in place?
I think regarding the adoption, we are behind that expected. When we see the numbers, the last numbers, I think MIT published some numbers about adoption of Gen AI, and it's behind expected. It's more a buzz than
Or a
real
hype.
adoption. Yeah, it's more a hype than real adoption. And even there are other studies that shows even the youngest, even the Generation Z, they are not adopting it at the speed on we were expecting. But I think it's not the reason that we are not there. I think we have the technology, but the technology is still in progress. We're not there to have of course, we can have a basic chatbot to help, but they cannot answer everything. Think about ChatGPT. The concept, ChatGPT will always, or any other technology that use GPT, they will always answer something. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, but it will answer. So we have to develop in people the critical thinking to work with the chatbot. I remember 8 years ago when Georgia Tech launched the first assistant for the college students at the university. It was called Joe Watson.
Joe Watson.
And the professor, he introduced it, the assistant, but the assistant that day when he introduced it wasn't there. He said, there's a TDX when he explained.
Nice.
And he said, okay, my assistant is not here, but you can reach out to her anytime using this address and just talk to her. And the student didn't realize it was a chat bot. It was an
Didn't
AI.
realize it?
No,
So it was
didn't realize. They just said, okay, she's always available. It's nice to
That's wonderful. Never sleeps. Wonderful. That's wonderful.
answer all our questions.
2 o'clock in the morning.
But so I think I like the idea, and I tech savvy. I love use technology, and I always test everything. So I'm early adopter, but I don't know if we're still there in the level we are imagining that we are. You know, it's not our buddy, our friend that, okay, we're going to answer. We have to have critical thinking. Okay, the chatbot answered this. Maybe it's right or wrong. Let's test. Let's check again. Or it's my opinion. We'll get there, I think. But we are still starting. Gen AI was just starting, and we will evolve in the next few years. But again, I think it's how we, if we rely only on the chat or the AI, and I think it's not the ideal. We have to interact with people, interact with the balance.
I totally agree. I think I have a 40 years old son, and I say to him, who empowers who? Okay. You can use ChatGPT or whatever you want, but at the end of the day, you have to do this to know how to do the task. Because if you don't know how to do the task, someone might know to you, or AI will know to you. AI will take your job because he is know to you. And what I see is that the scholarships are always trying to make shortcuts. That's the way it is. Okay, to try to get ready first and try to get it answered faster and so on. So this new tool is incredible. This giving the answer for me. I don't have to think about it, right? The problem is AI has hallucinations. AI not even answer the right things.
Like humans.
Like
humans. They don't hallucinate.
Exactly, that's the point. and at some point, at some point you not be sure if that is right or wrong, if you're not aware about the subject you're dealing with. So that's the point I see when you have to do with this new technology and who is important here. That's my major point. You have to understand what you're dealing, because when you have a calculator and you make it plus 2 plus, so you know the answer. You're already there because you study first. But if you haven't studied.
Yeah.
So I think one of the ways that technology and AI has the potential of really benefiting the individuals is just the personalization that's possible in education. You know, if you're a teacher and you've got a classroom of 30 students, regardless of the age, but say, especially maybe with the younger ones, elementary school, high school, they don't all learn the same way. And you've got some kids that are really sharp with math, other kids really struggle with it. Mm-hmm. And you're one teacher, and you've got this classroom of people, and you've got a set curriculum you've got to get through. That's difficult. If you can have a digital assistant that can sort of monitor the progress of each student and give supports to the students who need it and challenge the other ones beyond what, you know, say standard, then everyone's happy, say. And I think that's possible in a way that isn't sort of without this kind of personalized tool that everybody could have access to. So I don't know, like, exactly the degree to which we've arrived at that yet. And so I'm speaking of more of something as a teaching assistant that's empowered by AI rather than a tool to help research, that sort of thing. So it would help the students move along and help the instructor be able to sort of meet the goals of the class and each individual student with a little bit more, a little bit more surgically based on each individual's needs.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And there's some preferences, like one like
Absolutely.
to read and other discussing with the mates, the classmates. There is different preferences for each individual, and this AI can help a lot. So in saying, okay, your assistant knows that you like reading. Okay, you recommend more reading. If you like talking, go to a forum. If you like listening, go listen to or watch some videos.
That's the learning experience, right? That's the learning experience. Exactly. So people have mixed types of learning, right? Some of them will love to read, others love to talk. So sometimes when you have a nice talk or forum, you can learn much more. But as I saw, AI can help the students to keep the focus as well on the studying, right? Because when you have some subject or in each individual have your own ways to learn something, sometimes people lose the focus or not interested on some subject. So, for example, I don't like maths. I was nice, but I don't love math at all. So on my age, right, I had to struggle to learn math, right? And if I could do that more in another way, for example, going to forums or do some exercises outside the library would be better for me. I'm just wondering him, right, trying to bring something to the table, because I definitely think that regardless the tool and the learning experience that the people might have, is the AI can help with the personalization. So that's the key, and for the teacher as well, because the teacher needs to know the students, not so in a way of that the old way that we in a classroom of 20, 40 people, you might know maybe 10, 15 people, not all the class. And you may be connected with the people that you like most. We are humans, right? So when you have different behaviors or different personalities, sometimes the teacher don't connect, and it's hard. So maybe the AI can help with that matter to connect and to bring more information to the teacher, to assist him to the students to develop better, right? I think that it would be very, very interesting. And getting another topic that's very important, on my opinion, you like to get your opinion as well, about the critical thinking. Critical thinking for me is key, right? And AI, if not used well, could, I will not say kill, it's a very hard word, but can damage the critical thinking, because you can just, I will ask for ChatGPT to write me and drop down an email or a subject on that matter, write me some essay or something like that. So how you guys see that we can use an AI and empower the critical thinking the both ways? What do you guys think? Am I clear on my question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think maybe what we're talking about is, how do you enhance critical thinking as a, say, consequence of AI, rather than how can AI itself improve critical thinking? I think to your point earlier, the internet provided a lot of information. And you could go online and get all kinds of wrong information. But you had to sort of make the effort of finding the wrong information. You had to search things. And the internet can take you down a lot of rabbit holes. But you had to be more active. When you go to like an AI, a ChatGPT, whatever it is, it will give it to you. You're more passively receiving the potentially wrong information. You can assume, say, 90% of it's right or more. But you have to make sure that your critical thinking and, say, skepticism are properly aligned, so that when you get this information, you know what to do with it, because you can't assume that it's all right. So whereas before you're going out there and you're part of the process is critical thinking. Well, I trust this source. I don't trust this one. I got to look a little bit further on this one. When you're just being given everything based on a question that you ask, you don't know exactly even where to start. So this is where I think, to Alcely's point earlier, critical thinking has to be part of the education system itself, rather than assuming people are going to be able to make these decisions.
Absolutely.
I agree. And innovation, this is a long discussion about. And
this is a deep topic, right?
Yeah. What's gonna happen?
It's almost about philosophy. So, oh my gosh, we go back and forth, and that's okay, right, guys? That's not about only technology, right? We're talking about education and some deep stuff.
And humans, because there's a deep discussion about innovation and how AI will help us to innovate as an individual or as a group. And I agree that critical thinking is important to consider, because AI is learning from data. It could be billions, but from existing data. It's not something new. It's existing data set. And we as a human, sometimes we create something that we've never heard or learned before. We create. So we don't know exactly how to do this using AI now. AI is based on algorithms, based on math. It's a matter of data set that teach the algorithms. And of course, it's a kind of logic behind. Sometimes we put AI as a magic, but it's a logic, it's a math. So that's we need to consider and to develop critical thinking in humans, as Simon said, to at least to identify what's right, what's wrong, with your point before. But if you don't pay attention, we can lose it, because we will accept because of the data set so large, the result and the outcome of the response of your question is pretty good now. So you can assume it's right, it's good, I will not do better. But we can always do better, and we can always put our emotion our
That's
feelings
differentiate, right?
that differentiate in the text. So I love the idea to use ChatGPT as first draft. We don't waste time. Give me topics, right? But you have to put your personality, and you have to interact with your personality. And at the end, you have to say, "This is the message I would like to tell my audience."
You know that all questions that I did was from ChatGPT. No, I mean, I'm just kidding. Of course, he's my friend here. Okay. Just kidding.
What I have a good example of that. I keep saying that when I met some friends, and that is a simple trick, and the idea is like that. A problem is like that. A slug have to go through the wall in 12 days. During the day, they go 3 meters, but during the night, they sleep. Okay? How many days are you going to reach the top? It's simple. It's simple. Any kid can do that, okay? But you have to think, because it's a tricky question. If you put it on Gemini, on ChatGPT, on Copilot, anyone is going to give the wrong answer. Okay? I'm going to let it open. The people are going to try to do it myself, maybe. Okay? But the problem is, the answer they give is wrongly. And simple is a math. What are the point is, if I don't know the math, if I trust on the tool, that's one point to go. Another way to go is the way she's talking to. I think is ChatGPT is a big calculator for me. AI is a big calculator. What they give it beautiful test for you, right? That was wonderful constructors. Maybe a better English, a better Chinese, a better Russian, or whatever language that you use on it, but don't have your thoughts, your feeling, your way of expression. Your personality is not on that. That is missing. So, okay, I think AI can give you some extra layer for you to put on your thoughts on it, right? But not be your thoughts. You cannot overlay it. So that's the point you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think one of the areas in which critical thinking can come into the beginning of the equation is, and I mean, who knows? This stuff's evolving so quickly. Maybe in 6 months this won't be a problem anymore. Who knows? But prompt engineering is a very important part of this, and people do, and I think should, spend a significant amount of time sort of evaluating what are the prompts, like what questions am I asking this thing?
Mm-hmm.
Are they a bit too open-ended? Should I specify things a little bit more, just to try to avoid these hallucinations? Is, because the more open-ended the question is, the more likely it's crawling all the reams of data that humans have ever put online. So it's not all accurate. Some of it's actually disinformation, essentially. So the more refined the prompts that you feed this thing are, I think the more likely you are to get reliable information from it.
Sure, I agree totally. Can you imagine if I make a open question that I just started the podcast to the ChatGPT? You give me a Bible. That's tricky. That's a very interesting question, and I think deeply that, especially for I mean, that's overall, but for small and medium business, right? I at least in Brazil, I did some research on that matter, Simon, and Alcely, and the people are not adopting the AI yet, right? They do some, look at the ChatGPT, Jonathan. Okay, I see, but they are not using that as a tool to enhance and empower their business, right? And the people are a little bit afraid. So I see that there are a lot of space, right, in especially on a small and medium business, in order to have some kind of education on prompts, as you said, is the art of ask. My grandpa always said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Don't talk too much. I'm trying yet. I'm not so good yet on that. But learn to ask the right questions, right? And that's definitely, in my opinion, applies to the ChatGPT, right? And you need to do that. And in order to, when we are talking about the critical thinking, I was just wondering here, for adults, it's more, I mean, feasible, I think, to try to have this awareness about the tricks of the AI and the way that you can trust the information that you are receiving. But for the kids, it's different. So you need to start from the beginning because they are already born with that. My son is 12 years old. He's key 12, and I learned a couple of days ago that all of them are using ChatGPT. There is a tool that checks if the answer is ChatGPT ready or not, and how many percent is you know that. And that's interesting. So I'm always telling him in order to think by himself and use the technology to help him on side stuff and things like that. But getting back to the topic for small business, you think that AI and the solutions, the technology can help, especially the executives, the people who make decisions and create strategies to build something different or to be more assertive on their decisions on through the education. What are you seeing on that space?
You were talking about the adoption in Brazil, but it's across.
Oh my
all
gosh!
Yeah, even in Canada, we were in.
That's a mindset stuff,
conference.
maybe. That's a mindset on a matter of that the human needs to accept the business owners, everything to, okay, we need to embrace AI, we need to embrace that stuff and go through it, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think they have big problems to solve on a daily basis. And sometimes the information about what is AI is not very accessible. Oh, there is AI, Gen AI is more. We need to better understand what it is. Sometimes they have basic needs, like if they sometimes small and medium business they don't use cloud, they don't have cybersecurity.
Interesting topics.
Policies, they still are doing house, and we are talking about AI for them.
At least I am looking to my I am from the old school, right? So I look to my server. It's on my own. It's on my space.
Exactly.
But the roles change, right? We need we have a lot of technology that we can boost the services, boost the business with the use of technology. Sorry to interrupt you also.
That's right. And sometimes they have basic needs that we should support. And sometimes they are not ready for AI, but they need to understand what's AI, what they can help. And there are some areas, I think Simon has some thoughts about automation, right?
Yeah,
And
well,
how
I want to hear that,
can,
right? About automation.
Support the companies. And I think in this area, it's one of them. But I think when we're talking about AI, sometimes we put AI in everything. And we have to be this critical thing.
Yeah, wonderful.
Where
Wonderful
to use AI?
point,
Why we are using
It's
AI?
just like the KPIs. I have my strategy with 20 KPIs. Oh my gosh, you don't have a strategy. So you need to focus on, what's really matters, right? First.
Do you need AI now, or we're talking about ChatGPT as AI only? It's that's some kind of.
Matter of fact, AI is among us for a long time. Okay, you have let's say specific AI. That's is part of our technology for long. We have AI on your TV. Some companies already launched some AIs on your laundry machine, so and washing machine also. So you have AI on everything. The matter is our generative AI. That's the point we're talking about. So and how it's applied on concerning on forming people. That we try to understand, and how improve better the people using this kind of methodology. Because what I think on talk about AI, and you're right, totally right. We talk about statistics, mathematics, a lot of programming code, machine learning, and so on, right? Whatever. But at the end of the day, it continues to be a big calculator. But that point is good. That point is really good because help us to keep on track and, as you said, Simon, and help students to understand the difference. That's what machine learns. Very quickly can understand the difference between one and another, to understand the potential of one people that even the guys is not aware of it. And maybe you not were very familiar with mathematics, but if they show you in different way, in different perspective, in 3D or in virtual reality or something like that, you could touch the math. It could help you improve much more than you think. Because probably the way your mind works is not the same way the other mind works. Some people learn writing, and other people learn watching. So that's the way I understand.
Yeah, Alcely brought up a very interesting point, and about the journey to move to the cloud or the cybersecurity threats. Specifically thinking about the SMB, right, small business, there are some myths yet about moving to the cloud and my data is not safe and things like that. And getting a bridge to my question to you guys, what do you think could be a good starting point to get these business owners, these guys, these decision makers to embrace this digital transformation, because that's happening, right? In some extent that's happening. But what do you think would be a good starting point? Simon, that's just directly for you, specifically.
Great. Well, we've talked earlier about all the hype. There's so much hype right now about AI. It's a buzzword. And I think that can paralyze a lot of small, medium-sized companies, because it's like, where do you start? I keep hearing about AI. It's here, it's there, it's on the radio. But I think it's important for these companies to go through a process of, say, I don't know, like order of operations, right? Like, what do I really need? And sometimes, especially if it's not a technical company, they might not have an IT department. What they need might be some simple, like, procedural improvements. Not all business solutions, even digital business solutions, are not all AI. And so I think it's important to demystify it that way and get people to understand sort of what, okay, here are some of the, say, just small practical steps that I can take. You know, like, okay, well, what's the difference between an in-house server and putting it on the cloud? Which one's actually safer? Intuitively you might have an idea, but because I think it's just not the world a lot of people live in. Like Alcely said earlier, I'm a small business owner. Day to day, I'm putting out fires, and I got to meet the next quarter, budget, like whatever all my real tangible problems are. I might not have time to sort of go through this sort of like all this jargon and try to figure out, okay, what AI solution do I just drop down on my team and get them to, okay, that'll fix everything. And so I think it's important to get people to together review your business, find out what some of your actual problems are, and with very sort of practical, simple steps, what can you do to address this? Maybe it'll be AI, but maybe it won't. Maybe it'll just be something else, right? And then that'll, I think, give it a little bit of clarity of thought to be able to see what you can do first, and then second, and then third.
Yeah, and that's, sorry to interrupt you, Alcely, but just to do not lose the thinking here. Companies like Brainwork can help on that, because sometimes the small companies have don't know what they have on problems that have the hidden problems, right? That's the that's the very interesting point,
Those
because
are sometimes the worst problems.
Yeah. I'm safe, because we do some consultancy here as well, and we manage service as well, but the customer don't know the problems that my gosh, you have no policy for cybersecurity. You think that you are safe with a regular firewall and antivirals. My gosh, you need this, that, and then that's a threat. So that's a question for you guys. I think that the consultancy services is very important to get these customers aware about what they have the problems, because most of times they got, oh my God, I have all these threats. That's my map of risk. Where should I start? And so, okay, don't get panic. Let's do the first step, the second step, and I will be here to help. Something like that. Is that
you've literally read my mind.
That's a long time that we know each
That's
other.
what I'm about to
I'm not an AI, right? It's
Yeah.
the telepathy.
That's what I would make a comment on that. Like exactly what we do at Brainwork. We bring the client to co-create with us. So to understand the problem. To understand the problem, and we stress the problem, the problem they have, instead of saying we have a solution for you. Oh, we have lots of solutions. We have lots of partners that can provide any kind of solution. Mm-hmm. As we say, technology can solve anything. But what is your problem, and what do you want to tackle first? What do you want to solve first? And second, what's your priorities? So that's what we help them to navigate in this process. And in several sessions, we have a methodology that we're developing based on many experience we had previously. And because Brainwork is a series of consultants and people that get together, we found us together. And we thought, now we should start a company, because we believe in the same thing, on co-creation, on technology support, increase productivity, but how we do together, not for them, but with them. So basically, this is, we believe, and education is in all part of the process. Because when we were a client...
You read my mind now.
Yeah. And
Just great mind things alike. Put it that way.
So when we are working with them, we're learning, they are learning.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
we are building something new. And this is the beauty of working consulting and with people have open mind to new. So in that session, we say we are open. We don't want to close opportunities. We want like the most crazy ideas you may have. Yeah, anything counts here. So this is what Brainwork we are doing.
Yeah, that's a challenge, and everything started with something very human, and that I think that's also could be a AI enabler, which is the word trust. When you trust someone, or you trust your partner, your customer, wherever, everything goes fine. And that's for the technology also matters. We are here today because we trust each other, right? And that's a human, that's a human emotion, a sentiment. It's very important to have that. So, in the beginning of the podcast, you said on your when you were speaking, Alcely, that we humans sometimes feel, but maybe I have a frat. This stuff is gonna take my job. No, it's just a tool. It's just a lot of data with math and your calculation, as Jonathan said, right? Because the theory of AI, it's a lot of decades ago. Now we have a computational power to do that and data to do that. So that's working fine. And the neural, the theory is old. It's not something new. There's not, oh my God, no. But now it's a reality, and how we can slice stuff in order to have that on steps that we can make the profits for the business to use an AI, right? And companies like Brain Work definitely can help on that, right? And to make that happen, and also educating and the people and having the automation, and that for you again, Simon, because there are some very common, I would not say mistake, but when people think about AI, thinking literally automation. Let's automate everything. Let's get everything done fast. And what do you think should be the first steps on specifically for small business to get in automation first steps?
Well, do you mind if I start a little bit earlier?
Sure, absolutely.
You made before, because I think AI can be a threat. I don't think people should just panic and sort of like, it's not like iRobot kind of thing, but because of automation, it can impact, especially certain industries and certain jobs, and so there can be unemployment, say, caused by AI. It's happened throughout history.
Sure.
You don't see too many people operating elevators anymore, right? Or,
yeah, that's a good.
So it can be disruptive, say. But I think that's where it's important to, like, even within a company, and coming back to education, just upskilling and reskilling your workforce, because, I mean, not just for the, say, humanitarian reasons of keeping these people employed, which is important, but it's just studies have shown it is more like from a business perspective. If you can say upskill and retrain the people that you already have on staff, you'll get better results than bringing new people in. Absolutely. Onboarding people is really expensive, and it's it comes back to the trust. The people, because you build trust.
I'm very happy to hear that, because that's something that I say all the time.
Perfect. Great minds.
I'm not so wrong, Alcely. What are my thoughts? Oh, thank you, Simon.
Yeah, that's true. Indeed. I think a lot of points that come to my mind when being talking. As I said, I'm from this area since forever, and I saw it before. Okay, when the internet comes, nobody knows what it is, and somebody feel afraid to connect it to internet and how to get benefits on it, and so the companies that were more had more awareness about how to help them did it in the past, and now is the same path, but the complexity much more, because now you have more points to look at. So as you said, security is one of them, it's most part, but the process is another, and so on. And all these things together is going to be disruptive. Okay, in 2017 was made a experiment using an very old generation of AI in Japan, and if the AI could pass through the exams and get inside the college. And did not, at that time did not. Okay. They 20%, but did not pass. Today, it would pass easily. So the point is, some jobs is on the stake. That's for sure. The point is how to prepare the people, how to prepare again the people to make something different, to improve themselves, and not only to be replaceable. And I think that's part of the real next wave is going to be done, because you're going to take advantage of the people that our habit has, the people that we trust, our company, our lives, and so on. And let you one machine run your company. At the end, it's on everyone's imagination, okay? Like 2001 movies that halls take.
I love this movie,
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick movie.
Yeah, take controls of
Love it.
everything and make everything happening. Well, maybe 100 years up front, who knows? But the point is, I think AI is going to help much more than make trouble for everyone. Of course, as we saw in our history, some parts of our jobs must be changed. But even more simple people can take advantage of the generative AI. So those people that could not, and I also make joke of it, the people could not make a math, but when the guys invented a calculator, they could do some complex mathematics without know all the steps.
Yeah, I agree. And just from the flip side of it too, I mean, yeah, there aren't elevator operators anymore, or jobs like that, like phone operators. But when, say, my parents were growing up, they didn't have cloud architects, web designers, penetration testers. So some jobs will not be needed anymore, but new ones that we can't even really imagine right now are going to emerge, right? So they're, maybe we'll get to a sort of like AI future where there's no work anymore, everything's done by the maybe. And we
just making podcasts.
Yeah, podcasts all day. Maybe not. But in the short term anyway, I think jobs will be lost, but new jobs will be created.
Yeah, I totally agree.
2 days ago, we were in an event with the CEO of a very important financial institution in Canada. And I think one of the top financial institution there. And he was saying that they don't hire anymore only financial people, expert in financial, but he hires other like engineers, designers, as I was saying. So the companies are looking for more diverse set of skills, other kind of the mixture of different skills. And I think if people understand what's behind AI, if you open a computer, and we've been discussing with some partners that we are developing some courses on AI, and if you open your computer, you see the coding that is behind. You see how you train, how you send.
There are just algorithms, people. They're just algorithms.
Yeah.
Don't be scared.
Yeah. So maybe they will understand that math is important, logic is important,
Yes.
coding is still important.
Yeah.
Of course, they've been discussed today. You can use ChatGPT to put to get one design and to ask to transform in HTML, and easily we'll get the first draft the same. So, but if you know the basic and how it works, it's important. We have to have a mindset of engineers, how it works. So think about AI, it's not a magical thing, but how it works. So clarify this is important as education for everyone.
Yeah, it's definitely a tool that is much more to help, and we always need someone to revise, right? Do revision, right, on the stuff that AI said. Because I read an article. I don't recall exactly the author right now, but something like, the AI revolution will kill all developers around the world. You don't need developers anymore. So it's this, this kind of headlines that's shocking. No, that definitely not. And AI have the for the cybersecurity space and cloud, which are subjects other than education that I like very much. AI might help as well for the good and for the bad. That's everything, right? Technology comes on for the good, for the bad as well, right? When you open the internet, when you go to the cloud and everything, and these are, if you look for the good part of it, these are opportunities, right? To empower and to make more your business runs smoothly with help of specialized people, right? Specialized consultancy like brain work and everything. Because when you know your problems, you can slice it, as I said, and you can starting to solve them, right? You can build a roadmap on that matter. The conversation is very good. That's the worst part of the podcast, guys, when we're reaching our time. Sounds like it was good. But I will give you a last question, right? If you could do an all-in, just like poker, where you should put your coins in for the next year? I will open for you. I will not answer that question. It's not for me, just for my guests. Who wants to start? I can choose. You are my guests. Okay, Jonathan. If you want to put all your coins, just like an all-in, right? Just like poker. You play poker, where you could bet your coins. Where you should bet your coins.
Well, you make it very, very...
Yes, of course. We want to do hard questions.
Yeah, sure. No. Well, I try to bring it on my comfort zone, right?
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, sure. Because since we are technology, so AI today is a hype word. Everybody say that. But what is on AI? You need to that. Okay, so to understand how it's going to impact the life of everyone on the place, and I think you guys on the right place. You're looking on the education, because that's going to need it. It's going to change everything. Everybody is going to need that in the future. They need to learn all the time. I'm self-learning all the time, and I have to do that. But some people don't have this kind of skills, and they need someone, maybe one and I, to help them, and maybe one generative AI to help them to recreate the document, maybe one X or virtual reality to help them to see someone in front of him, and maybe one human along with it. So I think education is going to be a very, very good part. It's going to play a very important role.
Yeah, I think for me, human beings are not comfortable with uncertainty, and part of the transformation we need to do is how to survive on uncertainty. So for me, next year will be focused on human development. I think people will be on the focus of executive CEOs. When we read reports, surveys, they are still struggling to get the right team. Recently was published, there's another IT skills gap.
All the time.
So all the time, I shortage of IT team. So it's go back and forth and always return. So humans prepare people to this next generation of use technology. It will be the all-in for me. It's regarding education, but also self-awareness. I think for me, the human development part is how you understand what you want, your next step, your career development. So education and career development, they are together. Reskilling, upskilling, what's next? And are you in the right place, doing the right thing? This is very important. It takes time. Soft skills, to develop soft skills, it takes years of self-reflection, support. So I also think there is opportunity to work with other companies, other projects, other initiatives that can create a good environment for people to reflect and to increase self-awareness and to choose what the path they want to take, their own path. This will help the companies and help the people and the society as well. I think we have to balance the human development, impacting society, and using technology to empower this all.
Okay. I'm not going to try to dodge the question. I'm not a gambling man.
Okay. But you know poker, right? Okay.
Sure. I think my answer is related to the horizons in front of us. It's really hard to predict the future, obviously, right? Lots of people have tried. They're usually wrong, and the time frames are shrinking so much now. So when it comes to going all in on something, I'm not comfortable doing it. But I echo what both Jonathan and Alcely said. I think because of this uncertainty, I think it's important for what I would go all in on with myself and the people I know or I'm recommending things to would just be to prepare yourself as much as possible for the unknown. Be curious, be adaptable, be able to sort of dodge and weave because you can try to predict and there's some things that you can see coming sort of, but there are going to be other things that you just don't really know what's coming. That's from an individual and from also a business perspective. So being open to learning things that you don't already know, being open to unexpected events, just preparing yourself. I think that's really, from what I can see, as being the most important thing to be ready for the future. Is just prepare yourself as much as possible by being elastic.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. That reminds me the Black Swan. I was talking with Jonathan early today. Nassim Taleb, you guys might know this. I love this author. We need to be prepared, right? We need to be aware about our strengths and weakness, right? And lifelong learning. So, guys, that's a really pleasure. I hope that you guys enjoyed our conversation here. We are talking about a very hot topic, and probably we need more talks to explore. Maybe, as Simon said, get something more strictly, and more tied, and talk again. So, see you next time. That was a pleasure to have you guys here. You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
So much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.